the virtual lunch. Today is Friday, June 14th, and this is virtual lunch number 1034. Our guest today is Darryl Cross, the head sales coach for partners at Norton Rose Fulbright. And this is part of our fantastic series on disrupting CRM with Tree. Hi, Darryl. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, and how's everybody else doing today?
I'm well. I will speak for everyone. We're fantastic. Darryl, awesome. Just fantastic to see you. Tell us about your background and the work that you're doing at Norton Rose Fulbright.
Yeah, I've been at Norton Rose Fulbright here for about 2.5 years, but I've been working with lawyers since about 1997, really on the coaching and sales side of the house. And I started with doing that. When I first came to my first law firm, it was in D.C. It was a small little firm, and one of the first things I did is they brought me in as marketing director. They wanted me to help them get new clients. Me not knowing any better with law firms, I'd never worked in one before. I just started setting up sales training on Fridays, and we started having sales training. And then about 3 weeks into it, someone told me, yeah, we don't do that. So we don't do sales. I was like, I think you do. So I just kind of changed my approach a little bit. So I've been kind of doing that for a very long time. Maybe call it something different, but I've always just been on that side of things. I had a stint also on the other side selling into law firms when I worked with LexisNexis for 12 years, and I was in charge of performance development and coaching. But part of my job was to visit about 200 law firms a year and talk about this method of how do we generate clients and be this client-centric approach to sales is good for clients, and just really changing that mentality. And the last stint I had right before I came, I took a little vacation out of law firms for the first time and went to Amazon Web Services and served as the head of the global strategy for their global sales methodology team for about a year. And then I realized that I'm not 25 years old at Amazon, so I'm going to come back to what I know better, go back to the law firms. I learned a lot there, tried to explain, the concept of how do you put scale inside these law firms. It's one thing to work with one lawyer at a time to win a deal, but at a multi-billion-dollar firm, that's a rounding error. So we need to make it have a little more impact. And that's where building scale over coaching and systems and approaches and a methodology to generating clients becomes more important than those single instances of success, which are nice, but they don't catch. So that's what I've been working on quite a bit since I've been here. There's lots of firms that have coaches that come in. I think I'm the only internal full-time sales coach. I mean, I don't have a marketing department or a staff. I'm not part of the business development department. I'm a little bit of an island that reports into our COO and our managing partner. So what we try to do is we're trying to take people that are already really good at what they do and just bump them up a notch. It's not meant to be coaching is for the island of misfit toys. That's not what we're doing it with. We're taking people that are Olympic level athletes that are finishing in fifth place and trying to get them into first place. That's the way we look at it. So it's more of a selective process. I work with team leaders. I'll do group coaching for new partners. I work with laterals when they come in for their first 90 days. So it's not required, but it's highly encouraged. I do have to say that I've been very well positioned by our leadership team that this is a very positive thing to do. They don't have to participate, but don't participate at your own risk. We're not trying to convert sinners here. These are people that realize they've kind of hit a little bit of a glass ceiling for some reason, whether those internal constraints or external ones, or even just trying to figure things out a little bit. So, we look at, all right, how much revenue do they have now? What are they trying to get to? Are they trying to break into a new area or try a new approach? And using a coach could help them get there. I'm trying to use the same metrics that the firm does. I mean, we have goals for revenue, realization, profitability, numbers of new clients, numbers of new matters. Our firm, we put those up on a dashboard every month for partner calls and business calls, and it has run in there. This is where we are. This is where we were last month. It's going up or it's going down. I may have lots of internal metrics of what I consider is important as a coach, but if it doesn't affect those numbers, it does not matter. There are plenty of lone wolves inside this industry that are making millions and millions of dollars, and they don't need my help. Now, if they'd like to do it differently because maybe they feel it's all on their shoulders or they're overwhelmed and they can't even delegate because it's all me, then I could help them with that. But it's not that you can't be successful without coaching, but it's when people want to move up a notch, get a tier. And, you look at things like, whether it's sports or military or doctors or whatever it is, a lot of them will view themselves as above average. this industry's pretty steady. Everybody's busy, there's lots of work to do and everything until they don't. And it's a client leaves, a matter ends, the person that fed me business leaves, or I just became partner, I switch firms. It's the moment of change that happens that all of a sudden people go, oh, wait a minute, this is not permanent with that. I need to proactively do something about this. Now, a lot of lawyers, what they'll do, they'll go back in their office and they'll shut the door. And like they're in law school, it's like going into the stacks, and I will figure this out. But with the pressures that we have and the day to day demand, it's not a luxury we all have. So, that's one of the big threads that we see is dealing with this sudden change that occurs that maybe is not in our control with those things. I mean, we have a lot of the standard suites of tools that a lot of law firms have when it comes to CRM, when it comes to a lot of, the document management and knowledge management, and we're always trying to leverage those things. One of the challenges is there's so much content and there's so much information. How do we process it? There's this great thing that came out, Gartner Consulting, which does a lot of sales consulting. They talk about how clients, like our clients, don't necessarily want more information. They're just deluged with information all day long. What they want is what they call sense making. What does this mean? What is going forward? What does this mean? How is this going to affect things 3 to 4 months from now? It's a concept that I love to talk about. It's the aggregation of marginal gains. That's what it's called. That was championed by a gentleman named Sir Dave Brailsford. He was the head of cycling coaching for the Olympic team for the UK. And they went from one thing to winning all the medals, like in a series of 4 years. And he saw that if we just improve, when we transport the bikes, we can, reassemble them exactly like they were before. We bring our pillows with us. We prevent each other from getting sick. We take certain things when we eat. So if everything can be gained 1%, that's a massive cumulative effort, especially in a domain where winning is binary. So how do we do that with our lawyers? How do we use our tech, our colleagues? We have this great platform. Sorry, I think we're the best law firm in the world, but we only have to win by one to get these things, whether it's in the courtroom or winning business. So we're looking for these aggregate gains all over the place instead of this magic approach, which I think is met with skepticism, but people can understand that I can do 1% better in everything, and that's what we work on. And the big thing that we also work on too is don't discount, we can have all these cool tools, and I love my technology and all my trends and try to be ahead of things, but, it's the deliberate practice of these things is what really leads to it. And it's different from practice. So, they talk about the 10,000 hour rule, but the thing is, like if you played piano for 10,000 hours, but all you did is play chopsticks, you don't become a concert pianist. You become the world's most annoying piano player. So it's not the time, it's that, okay, let me do something a little harder, a little more. Okay, add this, shorten the time, do whatever it is. And so to constantly be trying to deliberate practice and improve requires the use of technology, requires the use of new approaches or tools. And so we push the concept of deliberate practice to get them to adopt these tools and new approaches that they have to implement to create time for deliberate practice. So it's a kind of a reverse engineering way to get there.
Given your experience on both sides, I'm thinking about CRM specifically in legal tech, and I'd really like to get your sense of what your read of the landscape is, and do you see particular challenges with taking solutions that were really originally developed for salespeople and support people and giving them to lawyers?
I mean, the fact is that, if you go to a traditional corporation, go talk to a salesperson at Oracle. Maybe that's not a good example since they make CRM. Let's say it's a company with a traditional sales force. They spend 40, 50, 60 hours a week selling. They don't like using CRM at all. They don't like putting all that data in there and searching for it and running reports and all that because it's cumbersome. And so with lawyers, they have a full-time job. It's called being a lawyer, and then we expect them to also spend 5 to 10 hours a week developing new business and tracking it and doing this and communicating. So we've got to find a way to embed this more in their day-to-day, as well as perfect the baton pass back and forth. We have marketing and business development professionals that are experts in this, but the lawyers are the ones interacting with the client. So how do we get that information in there So marketing business development people can process it, analyze it, and then get stuff back to the lawyers to act upon. So I joke sometimes it's like one of those Discovery Channel shows where they get a shark, they wrestle it, and they tag the fin, and then let them swim, and then you track where they swim, and they go, oh, I see some patterns here or whatever. I think that's what we're seeing more of. It's maybe the Jerry Maguire mission statement: less focus or less opportunities. You know, we're trying to focus on certain clients or certain prospects, certain segments. And so we use CRM more as a focus tool and have the smart brains of marketing business development generating and evaluating opportunities and then getting them back to the lawyers to pursue. So their probability goes way up without them having to go through the process of trial and error and data entry that they just really don't like and have time for.
Darryl Cross, everybody!
Thanks,
What a
everybody.
wonderful conversation. Really, Darryl, kudos to Norton Rose Fulbright for having you there. Must be wonderful for their lawyers, and I really appreciate you taking the time. Thanks also to Tree for supporting this series on disrupting CRM. Thanks, everyone. What a great discussion. Have a great weekend.